starts talking about how she has a landing strip and that she wants to touch him and that she wants to F him. And I'm confused. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I'll be reviewing Love is Blind season 9 episode 4. Okay, so this episode begins with Ed and Calabria's reveal. They both seem genuinely pretty happy. I knew that Ed would be happy because Calabria is a straight up baddie, okay? She looks really good. So I knew he would most likely be happy. But I was worried about Calabria. Like when she saw him, what she would think of his aesthetic, his vibe, and the way he puts himself together. She seemed happy. So I thought this was probably the best reveal so far in terms of both parties just seeming like they're really happy with what they saw. In the confessionals, we see Calabria basically saying that Edmund is not somebody she would go for on the outside. She'd probably see him and just keep walking. And that's fair. I mean, the whole point of this experiment is to kind of jump out and do something different. Unfortunately, I still don't think that this will work out, but it is nice for Calabria to be so open-minded, right? Because that is the whole point of this experiment, to just see if you could vibe with someone that isn't necessarily like the aesthetic that you would want in terms of the like physicalities. So it goes very well. You know, Edmund is just like jumping up and down, so excited. Gets down on one knee again, and it seems like that goes well. So I'm intrigued to see what happens, but I'm not gonna hold my breath in terms of this couple. So we then go back to Nick and Kate, and Nick gets mad at Kate when he realizes that she's not religious. This conversation to me was strange. So essentially in the pods, I think in the previous episode, Nick was talking to Kate, right? And Kate was explaining that her mom died, and when her mom died, she really questioned like her faith and like her belief in God, because she was like, what God would like let my mom suffer the way that she did? I believe that she had tumors. It sounded awful, right? And so she was like, my faith is like, I'm questioning things, because who would put like her mom through something like that, right? And I get how Nick might have misinterpreted it as maybe she was faithful prior, but isn't anymore. I mean, the way she said it, it sounded like that situation made her question her faith, but that she had a level of faith before that. But in this scene, right, or in this conversation they're having, Kate is saying that she never said she was religious. And Nick is like visibly upset, almost making it sound like she somehow like lied to him. I think it's just a misunderstanding, but I can understand how Nick misinterpreted that, because I also would have interpreted it as maybe she did have a level of faith. But one thing about it is when people say that they believe in a God or that they are religious, I want to know to what extent, right? Because there's certain levels that people are at. Some people go to church every day. They do certain things. Some people don't do those things, but they consider themselves religious. So I think it was weird for Nick to just assume. He probably should have dug more and asked more about that, right? Especially if faith was something that was so important to him. I think that the way he went about things in this conversation was just kind of weird. And I don't like how he tried to paint it as her just like completely lying to him. Like, if anything, just ask her, you should have asked more details before. I just think this was a strange conversation. And I honestly think that maybe he was looking for an out because he's feeling Annie more. And that's something that I picked up on. I did feel like his conversations with Annie, he's reassuring Annie a bit more. And I'm thinking maybe he was trying to look for an out with Kate, and this was his way of getting out of it. Because I thought that this whole conversation was strange. But all I can say is this was it. So at the end of this conversation, like, they ended things. Kate was like crying, and like she honestly dodged a bullet, because I don't think Nick is straight. I'm sorry. Like, I'm seeing so many things on TikTok about it as well. He doesn't strike me as somebody that's straight. Like, he could be gay, and I don't know. Something's up with Nick. So, Kate, this was probably a blessing in disguise. Okay. You should wipe those tears. No. So then we go back to Brendan and Annie is getting on him for not remembering something she told him about the type of car she drives. And let's be real. We all know that Annie's real sense of annoyance is coming from the fact that Brendan has not reassured her the way she would like to be reassured at this point, right? So we kind of see them talking and going back and forth. And at a certain point, Annie even says, like, I'm not getting that reassurance from you. Like, what's going on? I don't know. I personally think that she should just leave this connection alone, because I do think that Brendan is not really giving her what she needs. And I feel like if in the pods you can't really give somebody what they need, it's not going to be any better in real life. So she needs to just leave this alone, because I don't really know what's going on with Brendan here. Then we go to Patrick and Casey. And this was a very interesting conversation. Basically, Casey goes into details about how her ex told her to go on like a reality TV dating show in the past while they were dating. And, you know, Patrick is like, oh my God, that's so messed up. Like, why would somebody you're dating tell you to go on a show, right? Or like encourage that type of behavior. And, you know, Casey responds and she's like, well, you know, this is just who he is. And like, she kind of alludes to the fact that there were other things that happened in the relationship that she should have left. But like, all these things happened and she never left the guy, right? Like, she was just kind of taking like hits after hits after hits of like behavior that was just not right. Basically, Patrick then asks Casey, like, what about this show? Like, did he say that you should go on Love is Blind? Like, was it the same type of spiel, right? And Casey, like, she kind of confesses that it was, that he basically said, yeah, go on Love is Blind, but that he was skeptical and was saying that, you know, almost like I'll be out on the real world waiting for you when, you know, the show doesn't work out. Patrick is clearly worried because what? And Patrick makes a comment about how, well, you know, I don't really have an ex waiting for me on the outside. Like, that's not what I signed up for, right? Why would I do that, right? And then tell me why Casey responds and she's like, you know, she says something along the lines of, well, you know, you should kind of cut me a break. Like, don't be so hard on me. And it's like, Patrick should be hard on you. I mean, you guys are about to get engaged. Like, this is a big deal. And you're sitting here telling him a story about how your ex said to go. Like, something is wrong with Casey. I'm so sorry. I just was like, what? And then you're going to, after telling somebody this story, right? And their immediate reaction, the normal reaction is to be worried. You're then going to gaslight him into being confused as to why he's worried. She was like, "What? Why are you concerned? Are you worried?" What? Yes, I'm worried. Like, why wouldn't I be worried? Like, what kind of, oh God. Guys, I can't. I literally can't. This season just needs to be in the bin. I can't. So, yeah. Anna, something's just, or sorry, Casey, something's not right. So, then the conversation continues. It doesn't end there, okay? The conversation continues. And Casey decides to change the subject, okay? And things take a very spicy turn. A turn that I never saw coming, okay? I didn't know. I was confused. So then she starts talking about how she has a landing strip. And that she wants to touch him. And that she wants to F him. And I'm confused. Because I'm like, so your way of reassuring Patrick after telling him that you basically have a boyfriend waiting for you is to now let him know that you can't wait to do all these sexual whatevers to him. This is your way of solving that. You're just going to change the subject. Well, it worked. Okay. Because Patrick is sitting on the other side, like sweating, like, oh my God, I want to hear more. Guys, Patrick, I don't know how to explain it. I really like Patrick. I know he's insecure. I know the guy has issues, but he seems like he has a good heart. Like, he is a nice person, genuinely. And I feel for him because I feel like he's just not the brightest. And he falls for this ish, you know, like he falls for this ish. And he's at the end, you know, they're like great. And like, it seems like he's forgotten about this outside boyfriend, you know, after all Casey's spicy talk. So whatever Casey was doing is working, okay? And Casey, ooh, I can't even get into her because she's giving Colorado a bad name. And it's not just her. A lot of people on this season are giving Colorado a bad name. Remind me, I will never move to Colorado, okay? Because that's not it. I'm so sorry. Then we go to Mike and Megan, okay? Megan talks about how at one point she dated a billionaire, right? And Mike is asking, what was that like, right? So Megan is like saying it was terrible. She says it was miserable and that he was never around, and they'd have dinners and do whatever, and then in the morning he was gone to go to work. And the way to compensate for him not being around, right, and maybe having that lack of certain types of connection, he would just buy her gifts. Yeah, that sounds miserable. And I'm not surprised when people say money doesn't buy happiness. It's true, guys, okay? Like, it doesn't make up for real human connection, real emotional connection, somebody physically being there. Like, gifts, money, these things don't make up for it. So I wasn't surprised to hear that it was miserable. And when I heard this story, what came to my mind was, so Kate, I'm sorry. So then Megan then goes on to say that when she dated the billionaire and it didn't work because she was so miserable, she decided that she needed to date a lot younger. Okay. So she finds a guy that's like low-key broke, a lot younger than her, talks about how they had so much fun together, but he wasn't at a stage where he wanted to like probably settle down or have children anytime soon. So that was another issue. What I don't understand about Megan is, why do you have to go from one extreme to the other? I think she needs to find a guy that's in the middle. And what's so ironic about her story, right? Like what she's telling Mike in the pods right now is she's doing it again. Like Jordan and Mike are also on two opposite ends of the spectrum, right? And Jordan is not great for her because he's not going to be able to, the lifestyles are never going to mesh. It's never going to work, right? And then Mike is low-key an a-hole, right? Like he's not a nice person. You can tell that like, he's just not, the character is flawed, right? He's probably somebody that could possibly cheat after hearing about the story about his ex. She's doing it again. Mike is an extreme. Jordan is an extreme. She needs to travel the middle road, okay? Like she needs to try traveling the middle road with a guy. And I think that she will find some more success with dating. I think that she needs to stop with these extremes. I don't think that extremes tend to work out. At least they're not working for her. She's got to try something else. She needs to try the middle road. Okay, that's my advice for Megan. So then we go back to Jordan and Megan. And I think that Megan mentions something about, oh, it's so nice that like you got this procedure done, like the vasectomy, because not every woman wants to pump themselves up with like birth control hormones. And Jordan basically says like that he, is not acting like he's some kind of like martyr, and that he kind of did it out of selfishness is basically what he says, and that he didn't really want, to have, I don't think he wanted to have more children, right? And even though this procedure is reversible, I think that Megan needs to listen to what he's saying. Like if a guy gets this kind of procedure done, they probably do not want to have more kids. And if kids is something that you want, you guys are already not compatible. Like that's something that you cannot waver on. If you're on a date with a guy and he says he has a vasectomy and you want children, it's over. Because even if that vasectomy is reversible, the fact that he got the vasectomy in the first place means he ideally does not want more children. Okay, guys? Let me say it again. He does not want more children, no matter what he says. Okay? Don't let people lie to you, because you would not do something like that if you did. I promise you. I promise you. Or they're on the fence about it. And let's be real, when it comes to having children, you don't want someone that's not sure. You don't want someone that's not standing 10 toes in wanting children. Children are a big commitment. Like it's not something that you can just be like, well, no. Like you want someone that's sure. Okay. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So Patrick, then we go back to Patrick and we see that he has proposed to Casey. Okay. He gets down on one knee and like says all this stuff. And guys, I wasn't buying any of it. It didn't sound genuine. It didn't sound like it was from the heart. I didn't feel the passion. It felt like, well, this is my only option, because the option I really wanted went home, ghosted me, unfortunately. And I'm laughing, but I feel for Patrick, but then I also don't feel for him, because nobody's telling you to force something right now. And he is. And I don't know why, like nobody's saying you have to come on this show and force something. Like Blake went home. Blake went home. he could have gone home too. And to be quite frank, Patrick probably should have gone home because this is not it. Casey is not it, okay? The girl, she needs to work on that bad spray tan. I don't want to be mean, but it's not looking right. She's looking crazy. Like, and it's not just about the spray tan. The girl herself, no, she's not somebody that you would want to marry at all. The character is not there. I no. But he gonna find out, okay? He's gonna find out. So the episode ends with Annie talking to Brendan, and Annie's crying, and she's basically trying to end things with Brendan. Brendan is trying to have her like change her mind. I don't know why, because yeah, but Annie at this point is over it. She's like, how long am I gonna ask somebody for reassurance? She's probably thinking, I have Nick who's giving me that level of reassurance. You know, I'm ready to just move forward with that. So the episode ends with that. Like, comment, and subscribe down below. I have videos that come out every week, and I'll be reviewing the next 2 episodes. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.
Why you always in the mood? I'm acting brand new. I ain't trying to tell you what to do, but try to play it cool.